What do you think of my body? Am I beautiful? Of course you wouldn't imagine my story with this body. You wouldn't believe me if I told you that I was once fat. And whenever I look at myself in the mirror, I smile. Why? Because I was not always this thin. I was a fat person. Since childhood, I was a victim of my parents, who had many interests above me, and their only way to silence me was to get me food and candies, so my weight increased significantly, and no one helped me regain my previous body shape. I grew up and was constantly mocked by my schoolmates. They called me balloon or cow, and whenever I came back home crying, my mother would tell me that I would be slim on my own. After a while, she would give me a piece of chocolate. But this did not happen, of course, and my weight increased over the years. My friends were not many, because no one wanted to accompany the cow, except for the untouchables like me. I got admitted into the university to study law, perhaps to defend the ones who are being abused, because no one defended me. In college, I faced the same problems, but I was a grown-up and no longer paid much attention to the hurtful comments. I was convinced that my situation would remain the same forever, and I must accept it. My emotional life was of course non-existent, because my shape did not attract anyone. And if this happened by chance, then my lack of self-confidence and my apparent hatred of my appearance prevented any of the young men from approaching me. For my part, I was secretly in love with Gary, a business school student. He visits from his college at least twice a week to see his friends in the cafeteria. He was very handsome, and all the girls were hovering around him, and I had absolutely no hope. I was content with watching him from a distance, and inventing stories at night where I would be his girlfriend, and every day that passed without me seeing him was not counted in my life. I would have continued like this, and would have stayed hidden in the dark if I hadn't met someone who completely changed my life. One day, I was sitting alone in the university cafeteria, sadly looking at Gary surrounded by girls, when the waiter came to me and said, "How long will you keep envying people for their happiness?" I was so surprised that I couldn't answer him. Then he continued, "I have watched you for years, sitting here and watching this young man and his comrades with eyes full of profound grief. You have 3 options. Either you go to him now and talk to him, and I do not advise you to do this because he is a ridiculous and arrogant person, or maybe you are comfortable in the victim's role, and this gives you an excuse to cry all day long." He left to complete his work, and left me trying to understand what had just happened. He was right, because I haven't done anything yet to improve my condition, and I cannot change it. How could I not have thought of this before? How have I endured the insults and compassion of people through all these years without even trying? On my way out of the cafeteria, I passed by Gary's table and heard him saying, "Stop eating, you will explode one day." Boom! Then he continued telling his friends, "I have never had sex with a fat girl until now. It may be amusing, but I am afraid that I will die squeezed." They all laughed. I did not cry, but I looked in front of me and took a deep breath and came out with a warrior look on my face as I was prepared for a fierce battle. After a month, I graduated with a very good grade, and immediately I went to a dietitian, then joined a gym and started the hard work. I was told that it would take me a long time to get the desired result I wanted, but I was adamant and focused on my goal at the moment. I did not have the support of anyone because everyone thought it was a failure, but I remained persistent despite the fatigue and hunger. A lot of times, I was about to give up, but what kept me going was what the waiter said and Gary's comment. The idea of no insults anymore was also engraved in my heart. Yes, it wasn't a quick fix, and the results came slowly day after day, and I became another woman inside out. In the meantime, I had joined a law firm. I started working at a well-known firm concerned with difficult family issues, and soon everyone started seeing my ability. What distinguished me from the rest of the lawyers was that I was taking cases of people who were truly oppressed, and I refused to defend liars until I became known as the lawyer of the oppressed. When I learned that one of my client's husband's name was Gary F., my body shivered, and I immediately told her, "I will take your case." I knew him well because I watched him for many years at university while he was moving from one girl to another, and I tastefully despised his insults and disrespect for women. The time has come to pay the price for his indifference. My reaction was initially vengeful, but soon I calmed down and started thinking as a responsible lawyer and an objective person. What most people do not know is that the majority of law firms contract secretly with a special investigator to bring information and evidence. So I sent out our investigator, Bill, to Gary to monitor him daily and take pictures of him. And I waited like a spider weaving its web to hang its prey in it. The result was shocking. Gary was not only cheating on his wife, but he was also taking drugs, and I had evidence. I could immediately raise an invitation against him and wait for the date of the session, but that wouldn't be so fun. So I called him and asked him to meet to examine the case and to find a solution that would satisfy everyone. He accepted my invitation and came to my office. "Mr. Gary, the case is simple and clear. These are pictures that show you hugging and kissing girls outside a nightclub, and you take cocaine with addicts known by the police. What do you want then?" "We want a divorce, full custody of the child, as well as money for monthly and home maintenance." "You're dreaming." "No, Mr. Gary, I never dream. It is clear that you do not yet recognize me. I do not blame you for that. I have changed a lot. I am the one that you used to call the cow at the university, and that you publicly ridiculed." "Was that you? This is unbelievable." "That girl was disgusting. She was staring at me all the time, to the point that I had intended to teach her a lesson she would never forget. But she disappeared." He looked into my eyes and understood that I would not back down, and he accepted all my terms. On that day, I won the case for my client, and a case of everyone being dismissed and insulted for the sake of his difference. Thus, I triumphed over myself first, then my old enemy. I hope that you too will prevail over yours. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story. Bye!